Hello everyone, this is Chris from Spoon Graphics, back with another video tutorial using a combination of Adobe Photoshop and Adobe Illustrator. Today I'm going to take you through the process of designing a sticker for print, but more specifically how to set up your artwork to create cool sticker effects with a colourful holographic finish. Holographic vinyl has a shiny iridescent finish that reflects the full spectrum of rainbow colours as it catches the light. By cleverly setting up a print file to allow the holographic areas to show through in key areas of the image, you can create some totally awesome sticker designs. In this tutorial I'll show you how I made a sticker design for my little side hustle, Odyssey Activewear. This design is a kind of mashup between the Odyssey, as in the ancient Greek epic, and 2001 A Space Odyssey, the classic sci-fi epic. It combines the sculpture of Odysseus with surreal futuristic neon lights inspired by the Stargate scene from the Space Odyssey movie. Using a special holographic finish on this sticker design, I allowed the rainbow colours to shine through the eyes in triangular neon shape to enhance the surreal effect with the vibrant rainbow sheen. I'll first show you how I made the design, then I'll show you how to process the design into a print ready file. Then stick around till the end to see the final sticker design as a real life, tangible holographic sticker. The artwork starts with a public domain image of a sculpture of Odysseus. Use the pen tool to trace around the outline of the head. Stay a few pixels from the edge to avoid capturing any slithers of background. Once the path is closed back at the starting point, right click and choose Make Selection with 0 feathering. Go to Edit and Copy and Edit and Paste to place the clipping on a new layer. Turn off the original background image, then use the Command and T or Control and T shortcut on Windows for Transform, then rotate the head to straighten it up. Use the crop tool to expand the canvas slightly to provide a larger work area. Hold the Alt key whenever you want to extend multiple sides at once. Open up the free space image I downloaded from Pexels, which is linked in the description area. Select all with Command and A, copy with Command and C, close with Command and W, then in the main document select the background layer and paste the space image with the Command and V shortcut to place it below the clipped head. Use the shortcut Command and T to scale the space image to size to fill the canvas area. Add a new layer below the space image and fill it with black using the Alt and Backspace shortcut. Right click the layer and convert it into a smart object, then add a quick sharpen filter to bring out the details of the stars. Bring down the opacity of the layer to reduce the prominence of the space image so it fades into the black background below it. Select the layer containing the head clipping, convert it to a Smart Object 2 so it's ready for some Photoshop filters. First add an oil paint filter from under the Stylize menu. Max out the stylization option, but set the other values to 0. This will help clean up the original image to give it a smoother appearance. Add a sharpen filter to bring out some of the details. Add a levels adjustment under the Image Adjustments and Levels menu. Boost the contrast by bringing in the shadows and highlights sliders. Add a gradient map adjustment layer to give the design a duotone colour effect. There are all kinds of colour combinations you could go with, but I'm using a mixture of blue and pink. While we are currently designing in RGB, it is worth keeping in mind how the artwork will print, so choose hues that aren't made up of too many CMYK colours. Click the icon to clip the gradient map to the layer below it to restrict it to just the head graphic. Right click the head graphic and make a new copy of the smart object. Go to Filter, Other and High Pass, choose 1 pixel, then set the blending mode to linear light. Drag this layer above the gradient map layer so the colour adjustment isn't being applied to it. Doing so might break the clipping mask link, so reset it by Alt and clicking between the gradient map and the head layer. This high pass technique is a great way of sharpening an image to bring out the details. Adjust the opacity if necessary to tone down its impact. Begin adding the surreal lighting effects by tracing the eyes with the pen tool. Hold the Command key or Control key on Windows to toggle back to the selection tool, then drag across the two paths to select them both. Right click and choose Make Selection, then add a new layer and fill the selection with white. Go to Select and Deselect to clear the selection. Double click the eyes layer to begin adding some glow effects. Begin with an outer glow. Set the blend mode to normal with 100% opacity, then find a nice bright blue colour. Again, it helps to choose colours with an appropriate CMYK value. There is going to be some colour shift when we convert the artwork from RGB to CMYK later, but the difference will be less dramatic if we plan ahead with our colour chasers. Adjust the size value to around 50 pixels to add a glow effect to the eyes. We can only add one outer glow effect, but we can also configure the drop shadow to add more of an ambient glow around the eyes. Set it up with a mid blue and set the blending mode to colour dodge. Reset the distance value to 0, then configure the size to produce a subtle glow that brightens the surrounding area. I went with 180 pixels. Right click this layer and choose Copy Layer Styles. Select the head layer and paste the layer styles to add the same glow effects. Double click one to adjust the settings. Change the blending mode of the outer glow to colour dodge to allow the colours to generate a brighter effect against the space background. Increase the size to the max of 250. Set the drop shadow to soft light and max out the size too. Reduce the opacity to tone down the brightness slightly. Add a new layer right at the top of the layer stack and select the pen tool. In the top toolbar, change the style from path to shape. Then set up the styling with no fill and a white stroke of around 12 pixels. Place 3 clicks around the canvas to generate a triangle. Right click the layer and paste the same layer styles to give it a bright neon glow. Command and click some empty space within the canvas to deselect the path. To make the triangular shape appear to surround the head, hold the command key and make a selection of the head layer by clicking its layer thumbnail. Apply a layer mask to the triangle layer while this selection is active. The clipping mask has been applied the wrong way round, so use the Command and I shortcut to invert the mask so the triangular lines appear to go behind the head. We still want one of the lines in front, so use the brush tool to trace over one of the lines with white, which will reveal that portion of the mask. Die cut stickers often follow the outline of the artwork. Hold the command key and make a selection of the head shape. Then add the triangle to the selection by clicking its layer thumbnail with the command and shift keys. Go to select, modify and expand, then choose around 150 pixels to add a little padding around the edge. Photoshop selections can be a little janky, so go to select, modify and smooth. Enter around 50 pixels to smooth out the selection into nice flowing lines. Go to edit and copy merged, then paste this clipping onto a new layer to save a flattened copy of the artwork. Hold the Alt key while clicking the layer's eyeball icon to hide all the other layers except this one. Stickers will either need setting up with bleed or a border. This artwork would actually be perfectly suited to bleeding the space image all the way to the edge, since there's plenty of extra background to make use of. But instead I opted to add a border. Either way, you'll need to set up a cut line to identify what shape the die cut sticker should be. This should be a vector path, so I'll show you a technique I came up with to transfer the cut line from Photoshop over to Illustrator. Double click your merged layer and add a stroke. Set the alignment to outside and configure the size value to your preferred border thickness. Use a vibrant random colour. Right click the stroke effect and choose Create Layer to convert it into its own separate layer. Command and click this layer to load its selection, then go to Image and Crop to trim the canvas to size so there's no additional space. This is a good time to save a copy of your artwork so you don't lose the original full-size layered version after setting up the print file. Go to Image and Image Size to set up the artwork at your chosen sticker dimensions. This Odysseus sculpture image has a nice high resolution, so we can easily reduce it down to 300 ppi and set up the appropriate dimensions in millimeters. I'm going for 60mm for the longest edge. Next, convert the document to CMYK by going to Image, Mode and CMYK. Choose not to merge or rasterize the layers. You will notice a slight colour shift where any vibrant colours or glow effects that were created in RGB simply can't be reproduced in ink. But those careful colour selections we made will ensure the overall design still looks as we intended it to. Use the colour picker to check the CMYK values of different areas of the artwork. The pink portions of the head will print nicely using most of the magenta. Make sure any white areas are pure white with no CMYK values. The blue glows are being mostly reproduced in cyan with a touch of magenta. Then the space background has quite a heavy ink coverage with all kinds of CMYK values, but this doesn't matter too much since it's just the background. It'll just print out nice and dark. Turn off the visibility of the stroke layer and go to File and Save As. Give the file a name to identify that it's the main CMYK sticker art and choose JPEG. Keep the file size to max to retain its quality. Swap the visibility of the layers over so just the bright stroke shape is visible. Export this as a JPEG too. Let's move over to Illustrator to set up the final print file. While it is possible to use Photoshop alone, Illustrator is slightly better suited to creating print files. Create a new document at the dimensions of your sticker in millimeters. Make sure the colour mode is set to CMYK. Go to File and Place and choose the main artwork JPEG file. Align it centrally within the artboard using the Align panel. Paste in the stroke graphic next and position it in some empty space. Under the Window menu, choose Image Trace. Make sure just the stroke shape is selected, and configure the values to colour with the minimum colour value. Check Ignore White to generate a vector outline out of the raster stroke image. Go to Object and Expand to permanently convert this traced image into vector paths. Swap the fill for a stroke, then align the outline centrally on the artboard. If you look carefully, the outline has some unwanted straight edges where the tracing is snapped to the edge of the image. Sort this by going to Object, Path and Simplify. Open the more advanced options and set the curve value to 100%. Reduce it by 1% at a time until you see the path smooth out in the preview. Replace the stroke colour with 100% magenta, which is traditionally what is used to identify a cut line. Set the stroke weight to 0.5 points. Under the Colour Panels menu, choose Create New Swatch. Give it the name Cut Line, then make sure it's set as a spot colour. The spot colour will be flagged in the printer's software, so it's clear that this pink line isn't part of the sticker design. To tidy up the swatches panel, it's handy to delete any unused swatches, leaving just this custom spot colour. The white portion of the artwork is where nothing is printed, so the sticker material shows through. For a regular print that would be white, but for holographic vinyl that's where the shimmery rainbow appears. It's not quite as simple as that though. Certain colours like the magenta head area would be semi-translucent with a pinkish shimmery appearance. This is a print effect you can purposely make use of within your sticker designs, but for this artwork a white backfill is required to make the non-holographic areas opaque. Sometimes the printer will want to do this themselves, so it's worth asking first. But here's how to set up an additional layer to identify which areas need to be first printed with white ink. Back in Photoshop, make the final design visible again, along with the two layers that contain the white areas that will show the holographic effect. To make an accurate selection of these areas, first disable the effects, then merge the layers together under Layer and Merge Layers. Command and click the main artwork layer's thumbnail to make a selection of the overall design. Then hold Alt and Command while clicking the merged white areas layer to remove those portions from the selection. Add a new layer and fill this selection with a bright colour so it's easily visible. White won't show up against a white JPEG background. Save this artwork as a JPEG and place it into the Illustrator document. Use the Image Trace window to vectorize it. In order to make an accurate reproduction of the finer details, set the noise to 1 pixel. Check Ignore White, then find the lowest threshold value that accurately replicates the outline without it disappearing altogether. Go to Objects and Expand to permanently convert this tracing into vector paths, then give it a white fill. Save a new spot colour to identify this shape as the white fill layer, then line it up centrally on the artboard. This white layer now totally obscures the artwork, so it could potentially cause confusion with whoever opens your print file at the other end. It's worth separating it onto a new layer, or sending two artwork files, one with and one without the white fill layer. Or better yet, ask your printer how they want the artwork to be supplied. Before saving your print file, make sure the JPEG image is embedded directly in the document by checking for the icon in the Links panel. The specific print file requirements is another area that should be instructed by your chosen printing company, but a PDF with press quality settings is a commonly used file type. After a short period of time, you'll then receive your sticker design as a tangible piece of shiny vinyl for you to admire as the beams of colourful rainbow lights refract into your eyeballs. Using special finishes such as holographic, gold, chrome, glittery or prismatic to enhance your design helps to produce a stunning sticker that really stands out. If you enjoyed this tutorial or learned any new tips and tricks, a thumbs up on the video would be really appreciated. Stick around for more of my content by subscribing to the channel, and be sure to join my mailing list at Spoon Graphics to download all my free design resources. As always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.